Okay, welcome to this next online lecture. Today we'll be talking about Lesson 5 of Unit 2 on putting Arabic together. So we've almost reached the the end goal of Unit 2, which is to actually read Arabic phrases and read verses from the Quran, right? Because we've kind of learned everything throughout this journey throughout Unit 2, which is first learning the Arabic alphabet and then getting to the other stuff. And that actually goes into our objectives. So as I said before, it's very important for us to set objectives and kind of look at them along the way so that we know what we're doing in order to reach an end goal, part of the success model, right? So number one, we recognize the Arabic alphabet. So we talked about common stem structures and parent structures, and then different ways letters are written, right? So varied forms. The next objective was to understand vowel and consonant symbols, so their sounds and what they look like. Okay, so just that recognition idea, because that's very important in order to read a letter. You have to recognize those symbols and the letters. And then what we're going to be talking about in this lecture today is the written positions of letters. Okay, so how they're written in the beginning of a word, in the middle, and the end of a word. Okay. And then that ties into the last point here, which is to actually read the Arabic phrase itself, okay? Which is really easy once you have that base foundation and once you've covered these three objectives up here, which, mashallah, you've already done. Okay, so before I start this, again, this is the Arabic language still, so I'm going to say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So let's look up here. Let's start with this first row, and I'm going to use actually red to just circle the letters I'm talking about. So let's talk about letter Noon over here, okay? So letter Noon is actually in its detached or isolated form, or you could say maybe it's capitalized or it's alphabetical form, okay? That's the form you're used to seeing. It is not connected to a word in this form, all right? Well, in this case over here when it gets to the end, but we'll get to that. But when the letter Noon is written at the beginning of a word, it's actually written in this kind of form. Now this is a bit pixelated, but I'll write it to the right over here. So letter Noon at the beginning of a word looks something like this. Almost like that, okay? Now don't get confused between this and the letter Dal, okay? Because I know letter Dal, let me write the letter Dal in a different color. I'll write it in black or something. Letter Dal looks something like that, right? It has a really sharp, almost sharp curve to it, and the dot is positioned almost directly close to the end point of this backbone structure. But for the letter Noon at the beginning of a word, it's written it has a nice curvature to it, so you can tell, and you can even see in the pixelated form, there's a curvature here, so that tells you it's not a dal, okay? So again, this is the way the letter Noon is written, because on the left, again, since we know Arabic is written from right to left, so therefore we have to read Arabic from right to left. So if letter Noon is written at the beginning of the word, we know that there's going to be a letter to the left here, right? This horizontal stalk over here, or should I circle over here, is actually connecting another letter that's going to be positioned over here. Okay, so that is the beginning form of the letter Noon. Now let's get to the middle form of the letter Noon, which is over here, okay? And so again, you're going to have a letter to the right of the letter Noon, and you're going to have a letter positioned to the left of the letter Noon, connecting by these horizontal stalks. And let me rewrite this in a clarified form to avoid pixelation, okay? So it's going to be something almost like that, right? So it has a bit of a curvature and a sharp curvature there, and then you have a dot there. When you know that there is one dot up here and there is a curvature to this kind of writing here, to these horizontal stalks, you know it's a letter Noon, and it's not a letter Dal, right? Because the letter Dal, it would look something like this. I'll write that in black again. Letter Dal, you'd have something like that. You would know that if this line is oblique or if it's diagonal and has a dot here, you know that's a letter Dal in the middle of a word, okay? So just remember that, keep that in mind. And we'll do some more exercises and worksheets in lecture or in class when we talk about that. And then lastly, you have the letter Noon written at the end of a word, okay? So again, you know it's written at the end of a word by the indication of this stalk over here, this connection stalk there. So there's going to be a letter in this place to the right of the letter Noon here, okay? So just remember that. Same thing as for the letter Sheen, okay? So that's capital form. This is how letter Sheen is written in the beginning. Nothing changes. You still have the dot, the 3 dots there, as you have for the letter Noon up here. But in the beginning, it's written like this. You have one loop, one dip, second dip, and instead of drawing the 3rd dip here, what I'm doing in this letter is I have a horizontal stalk here again. So again, another letter is going to be in the position here to connect it. Letter Sheen, again, you see the connecting stalk here. We see it over here to write the letter Sheen in the middle of a word, and then to write the letter Sheen at the end of a word. You see the connecting stalk right over here, okay? Right over there. So that is the basic idea on how letters are written like that in a word. So let's start off with a bit of an example. Now this does not have any vowel symbols, but I'm going to actually add them so it's easier for you to read this, okay? So I can actually find an image that had this, but let's try this. Fatha there, Sukoon over there, Fatha there, Sukoon over here, Kasra over here, Fatha over there. And for here, since this is the end of the word, right? So we don't really pronounce this, but I'll explain what this letter means, okay? So again, to clarify, a Sukoon can either be a circle or it could be something like that. It could look like a little bit of a comma, right? So it looks something almost like that. So it's either or is a Sukoon. And the Sukoon, we said, makes that letter consonant sound. It just makes the letter sound. It doesn't make any other sound. So let's get to it. This is a letter Alif here, right? So we're going to start off by recognizing what letters are in this word. You have a letter Alif with a Fatha, right? And then you have a letter Lam over here, right? You see this bold kind of writing here, letter Lam here. Then you have a Sukoon on top here, okay? And then you have a letter Ain. Okay, this is a letter Ain. It looks like a bird head, but it's written in the middle of this word, of this part of the word here, right? So it has a letter Lam on one side and a letter Ra on the other side. And then this is the letter Ra, right, at the end of the word. So it's written in its capital form at the end of the word, of the part here. And then here you have a letter Ba, all right? That's connected to a letter Ya over here, indicated by the 2 dots there. And then this is actually supposed to be a letter Ha without these 2 dots, okay? Without these 2 dots. Because there are 2 dots here, we treat this whole part here that I'm circling like a letter Ta, okay? But this will be clarified by Brother Dawood because he is in a more advanced kind of level. He's more qualified to teach the more complex kind of concepts with the Arabic language. But that's a general idea. Now let's sound out each of these parts of the word. So letter Alif and Fatha, Ah, okay? Letter Lam and the Sukoon is going to be La, okay? Just the L consonant sound. Letter Ain and the Fatha, that's going to make the Ah, right? Ah, like that from the throat. Letter Ra and the Sukoon is going to be Ra, okay? Letter Ba and the Kasra is going to be B, or it's going to be the quick B. And the letter Ya and the Fatha is going to be Ya, okay? Now, a quick thing to know here. You'll notice that there is a letter Ya madda here. And if you notice the Kasra over here, and you have a letter Ya right next to that. Because you have the lengthened E sound, right? So letter Ba has the Kasra, and you have a letter Ya to extend that E sound. But the letter Ya is also making that added to the Fatha to make that Ya sound, as well as contributing to the E sound for the letter Ba. Okay, so that's the first example. Now we'll go through one more example, and then the last slide is just meant for you to kind of work on by yourself, okay, to see if you can do it by yourself. Look, now let's see what letters we have here. So we have a letter Ha, all right, and that letter Ha is actually connected to the stick-like structure stalk here, which is actually an Alif, okay, and then you have a Fatha above this letter Ha. Now, if you've guessed correctly, this is an example of the Alif, the Alif Madda, right? We see the Alif Madda over there. So then you have a letter Lam over here, okay, with a Dhamma on top of it. Then you have connecting the Lam with the letter Kaf in its alphabetical form that you're used to seeing with the little Hamza symbol here, and you have a Fatha above the letter Kaf. So let's sound out each of these parts of the word. Letter Ha with the Alif and the Fatha, that's going to make the Ha sound, right? The quick stretched sound in there, okay? Because of the alif madda. Ha, lu, ka, right? Again, letter lam with the dhamma, it's going to make a lu sound because the letter lam makes the l sound and the dhamma makes the u sound. And then letter kaf makes the k sound. With the fatha makes the a sound, so you're going to have ka. So reading this all together, ha, lu, ka. All right? So this is the very last example. And just, I'd encourage you to pause the video and just give it a try yourself, and then we'll actually go through this example. Okay, so now that you pause the video, let's go through this example. What you have here is the letter sod, right, at the beginning of this word. And you have a fatha above the sod, okay? And then here you have a letter ha written between, it's in the middle of the word, kind of like that, between the ra and the sod. And you have a sukoon on top of the ha, so it's going to make a ha sound, okay? At the end of this part of the word, you have a letter ra with the fatha and the alif. Okay, so again, this is another example of the alif madda, right? I'm just going to put AM for short, alif madda. And then you have a letter hamza with the double dhamma or the dhammatin symbol, all right, making the un sound. So both the hamza and the double dhamma is making the un sound. So let's read this all together now. We're going to have sol, letter sol with the fatha is sol. But now we have a letter ha with the sukoon. We're going to say soh, right? Because we're adding sol plus ha, which gives us soh. And then let's read this ra with the fatha and alif. It's going to be ra un. All right, and the hamza and the dhammatin or the double dhamma is un. So one more time, soh ra un. All right. So that concludes this online lecture, and in the next online lecture, we're actually going to do a breakdown of Surah Fatiha. But thank you for your attention and have a good day.